Hi, I'm Bill.
How you doing, Bill? Stephen, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for doing this. I want to talk about where you say COVID-19 has impacted not just us here domestically in the United States, but globally.
If we just look at the COVID death number, in no way for even the rich countries does it capture the negative effects, the tragedy of what's going on. Things like mental health or the educational deficits or other diseases that messing up the health system is making more prevalent. It's much more difficult to dimensionalize that, particularly in the poorest countries. Things like hunger, poverty, getting life-saving medicines, this has been a gigantic setback.
In this generation, right, we're talking the social media era and how information is spread, false information, how it's kind of fragmented to create a stir in certain communities versus others, and it's very targeted in that respect. How much do you worry about how that is disseminated throughout our community? Because information is obviously power, especially in the response to this pandemic. Things change so fast.
Well, the digital revolution, internet, social media, all of that, it's made it easier for us to see what's going on. Medical researchers are publishing articles every day, and all over the world people can immediately see what the new thinking is there. Thank God for the internet. Work at home, our ability to connect up with each other is driven by that. But it also has meant that a lot of conspiracy theories that are false, sadly, they spread a lot faster than the truth. So the idea that did somebody intentionally cause this thing, completely false, that can be dangerous because it means, if you go for these simple but wrong theories, getting people to work together and protect each other so we can get out of this as soon as possible, that's really at risk. How should the government deal with that? It's very difficult. Ideally, citizens are just well informed and they know which publications are very careful about what they say, and we don't have to engage in censorship. Looking at the companies like Facebook and saying, okay, what is their role in that? When somebody says masks don't work, which is wrong, what is their responsibility for catching those things, particularly when they get up to large numbers? I think we'll come out of this with those companies feeling a stronger sense of responsibility and actually understanding, having the public debate about how they need to help here.
When it comes to that information, I know especially just the awareness of how this pandemic has affected Black and brown communities across our country in a disproportionate amount. I think the CDC said, 2.6 times more likely for a Black person and 2.8 times for the Latinx community to contract this disease. From your vantage point, knowing issues that have been prevalent long before this pandemic, but that have only been accelerated, how can we curb this? Put the right resources in the right place, put those communities in much more at ease in terms of the light at the end of the tunnel?
There's a lot of things we still need to do. Communities of color still have far less access to testing diagnostics than the average American. And so the fact that the testing resources, who gets the quick results, it's not in these inner city communities where a lot of the burden is. That's an injustice that should be fixed. Likewise, as we do the vaccine trial, we've got to make sure that people who volunteered are very diverse so that we have enough representations from the groups who are being hit hardest, and we understand, is it safe, is it effective in those groups, not just the average statistics there. We wouldn't have predicted that the burden would fall so heavily on people of color, and we're still confused about that. We need to get to the bottom of this because that has to be part of our understanding this disease and how we, reduce this incredible burden. But it is very sad that at the same time we see racial injustice through policing, and we're talking about that. We have this raging pandemic that is messing up these communities and setting them back. And so hopefully the awareness we get out of these tragic facts drives us to solve specifically the COVID-related problems and looking at the broader gaps.
You're taking a very data-forward approach to pretty much everything, right? And that's what's supposed to spark ideas and resources and alternatives to the current reality we live in. But how do you approach those conversations where somebody on the other side might not even acknowledge the systematic or the disproportionate access to resources and healthcare in certain communities? How do you bridge that gap where it doesn't get contentious, but you're trying to level the playing field so that we can be productive in where we're trying to go as an entire country?